The morning after blurred the line between memory and fantasy. Daniel sat at the kitchen counter, coffee untouched, mind spiraling. Had she meant those words in her sleep? Or had his guilt twisted them into something worse? Arya entered the room wearing nothing but a loose t-shirt and underwear. She didn't flinch when their eyes met. If anything, her gaze held him longer, steadier. "You left early," she said, sliding onto a stool across from him. He forced a sip from his mug. "I had work." "You don't work on Sundays." He said nothing. The silence settled like dust. Then in a whisper, "Did I say something weird last night?" Daniel looked up. Her expression was unreadable. "I don't know what you meant," he replied carefully. She leaned in slightly. "What if I meant it?" A knife twisted in his chest. "Arya, don't." Her smile faded, replaced by something deeper. "You think I'm a kid playing pretend. But I know what I want." He stood, pacing. "This is insane. You're Melissa's daughter. I'm not her. And she's barely your wife anymore." That cut deeper than he expected. Daniel stared at the floor, breath shallow. He didn't recognize himself in these moments. He had built a life around restraint, order, rules. Now each word between them chipped away at that structure like a chisel breaking stone. "I can't," he muttered. She stepped in front of him, so close he could feel her body heat. Her hand touched his chest, light, tentative, testing. "You already are," she said, and he didn't move. The kiss wasn't sudden. It was inevitable. Slow, like the end of a prayer. Her lips were soft, her body warm, her hands trembling, and still he didn't stop her. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe part of him didn't want to. When he finally pulled away, his voice cracked. "This isn't who I am." She touched his face gently. "Then why does it feel like you?" That night, he tried locking the bedroom door. It didn't matter. A quiet knock came around midnight. He didn't answer, but she came in anyway, barefoot, a blanket draped around her like a cloak. "I had a nightmare," she whispered. "Arya, please," she said. "Just stay with me." He hesitated, then lifted the blanket. She climbed in. They lay in the dark, bodies not touching, but gravity pulling them closer. Each heartbeat narrowed the space between them. His breath hitched as her fingers brushed his. The silence fractured. She turned toward him, hand tracing his jaw. Her lips touched his shoulder. Then his neck. He didn't stop her. Clothes disappeared like mist. Movement slow, uncertain, desperate. Every nerve screamed this was wrong. But her voice, so quiet, so hungry, cut through the doubt. "You don't have to be alone anymore." And in that moment, Daniel surrendered. Sunlight spilled through the blinds, painting long lines across tangled sheets and bare skin. Daniel lay still, eyes open, heartbeat crawling in his chest. Beside him, Arya slept soundly, her face serene, lips parted in contentment. She looked like innocence, until memory betrayed her. He slid out of bed slowly, careful not to wake her, and paced to the bathroom. The mirror didn't offer answers, just the reflection of a man who no longer recognized himself. His body was here. But his soul? He wasn't sure where it had gone. When he returned, she was sitting up, blanket wrapped around her, smiling softly. "Good morning," she said, like it was any other day. He rubbed his face. "We shouldn't have, but we did," she interrupted, unapologetic. "And you didn't regret it last night." "I wasn't thinking last night." She stood, the blanket falling away as she moved toward him. "Then start thinking now. Think about what she's done to you. Think about how long you've been waiting for someone to see you." He stiffened. "What are you talking about?" Arya crossed her arms, her voice steady. "Melissa's been cheating on you, Daniel. 4 months. Maybe longer." His breath caught. "You're lying." "I'm not," she said calmly. "I heard her on the phone. I saw the messages. I didn't say anything because I knew it wouldn't matter. You would have forgiven her. You always do." The floor seemed to tilt beneath him. Anger flared, but not toward Arya, not entirely. A deeper rage bubbled inside, coiling around the truth he'd refused to see. The coldness, the absence, the way Melissa had grown more distant with each passing month, it had all been pointing here. Arya reached out, placing a hand on his chest. "I didn't destroy your marriage. I just showed you the cracks." He stared at her, torn between betrayal and desire, guilt and relief. "You manipulated me," he whispered. "No," she said. "I gave you something real." The front door opened downstairs, Melissa's voice echoing faintly as she stepped inside. "I'm home." Daniel froze. Arya didn't flinch. "She doesn't know," Arya said. "Not yet." They dressed in silence. When they joined Melissa in the kitchen, she greeted them with her usual detached warmth. Daniel sat across from Arya at the table, pretending to listen as Melissa recounted her weekend. Arya's foot slid slowly up his leg beneath the table, soft and deliberate. He didn't move it away. His heart thudded with confusion, with danger, with something dangerously close to exhilaration. Later, as Melissa walked out to unpack her bags, Arya leaned in. "You don't have to choose yet," she whispered. "But you will." Daniel watched her walk away, a storm gathering behind his eyes. She had whispered those words in the dark, "Please don't stop, Daddy. I'm enjoying this," and now they lived inside him, echoing louder with every breath, and the worst part, he still was.
The air in the Varma household carried a silence too heavy for words. Raj Varma, once full of life and laughter, now moved through each day like a man caught between memories and obligations. It had been 4 years since he lost his wife, Ananya, to a sudden illness. Her absence hung in the house like unfinished music, visible in untouched corners, faint perfume on a scarf, the quiet ache in their son's eyes. Arav, 13, had learned to mask his grief behind silence and sarcasm. He spoke when necessary, mostly in monosyllables, and wore his headphones like armor. His world had shrunk to his bedroom and his cricket bat. Raj, too consumed by the grief he never learned to express, let the distance grow between them. Conversations became reminders of everything they'd lost. When Meera entered their lives, it wasn't with fanfare, it was with quiet hope. A schoolteacher in her late 20s, she was soft-spoken and observant, the kind of woman who noticed what others ignored. Raj met her through a mutual friend and, after months of nudging, agreed to a second marriage, not out of love, but a weary sense of duty. Arav needed a mother figure. Or so he convinced himself. The wedding was a muted affair. No loud music, no bright colors. Just quiet vows spoken with eyes that barely met. Meera moved into their home 2 weeks later, carrying more emotional courage than luggage. She knew this would be difficult. What she didn't expect was to feel like an intruder in her own home. Arav resisted her with passive defiance. He didn't shout or misbehave. He simply ignored her. When she made him breakfast, he left it untouched. When she asked about school, he nodded or shrugged. He called her Meera auntie, never deviating, never softening. Raj, too, seemed to vanish more each day. Work became his excuse to disappear. He left early, returned late, his conversations sparse, his gaze distant. Meera tried to reach him, through small gestures, shared cups of tea, quiet questions, but he remained locked in a world she had no key to enter. Still, she tried. She decorated the living room with small, warm touches. She learned Arav's favorite meals. She listened to the silence and responded with kindness, even when it went unnoticed. But one evening, as she sat alone on the balcony, a different voice joined her. Adifir, Raj's childhood friend, stopped by with his usual casual charm. He complimented the new curtains, cracked a harmless joke, and made her laugh, just once, but enough to remind her that she was still a person with a heart that longed to be seen. That laugh, brief and unguarded, echoed longer than it should have, and somewhere behind the closed bedroom door, Arav heard it began innocently enough. Cups of chai on the veranda, shared silences, and soft conversations under the dusky sky. Adifir, Raj's childhood friend, had always been around. A frequent visitor to their home, he brought with him a casual warmth that contrasted Raj's quiet detachment. He made Arav laugh, remembered birthdays, and noticed things Raj seemed too distracted to see. Meera had never expected to confide in Adifir. But one evening, as she folded laundry, he found her quietly crying. She wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed, but he didn't press. Instead, he sat beside her, saying nothing. That silence, gentle, understanding, was more comforting than words. Over time, her guarded thoughts spilled out. She spoke of her struggle to connect with Arav, of Raj's emotional absence, of the growing hollowness in her role as wife and mother. Adifir listened, not with pity, but with an attentiveness that made her feel heard. His empathy was like balm on a wound she'd hidden too long. Their moments together became more frequent. He'd drop by when Raj was away, help fix things around the house, bring her books he thought she'd like. The space between them shrank with every shared glance, every joke that lingered too long in the air. She knew the line she was nearing. But the loneliness made it feel far blurrier than it should have been. One rainy afternoon, power flickered out. They sat in the dim kitchen, candlelight dancing shadows across the walls. He reached to pour her tea, their hands brushed, and something paused. Not time, but restraint. Her breath caught. So did his. Then came the kiss, gentle, searching, and irreversible. Meera pulled away, heart hammering, a tremble in her voice. This isn't right. Adifir's voice was low. But it felt honest. The guilt hit her like a wave, but beneath it, a startling clarity. For the first time in months, someone had looked at her like she mattered. Not out of duty or convenience, but longing. After that, there was no declaration, no promises. Only a quiet agreement to pretend it never happened. Yet the emotional current between them deepened, silent and steady. Raj remained oblivious, too buried in his grief-wrapped routine to notice the shifting dynamics around him. One night, Meera tucked Arav into bed. He mumbled, eyes half closed, "You're not that bad, for a stepmom." Her heart twisted. That small crack in his wall felt like a sunrise after a storm, but instead of joy, she felt dread. Because beneath the flicker of hope lay the truth she couldn't undo, and Adifir had just texted, "I need to see you."